Welcome back to the latest episode of the Key and Mang audio experience. I'm your host, Mang, as always, joined by my fellow co-host, Key. Key, what's good?
What's up, Meg? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm lovely. Can't complain.
Hey, look, hold on real quick before we get into this. What's the weather looking like right now in Connecticut?
It's all right. It's like I feel like it's like 50 degrees. I might be wrong. That's what it feels like to me. What
You
about out
trying
there?
to, you trying to bring, you trying to bring some of that over here? I'm looking at grass covered in snow right now, and I'm really upset right now.
Snow?
Um, snow, yeah. It snowed on Monday, and so I'm just looking at it right now, and I was like, cringe. But
It's
besides the
October.
point, I know. That's besides the point. But today we got a special one. We wanted to have a conversation about email marketing and all things email. So we decided to get one of the best in the game, on the pod. The owner of the Wealthy Inbox, who's on a mission to bring being the most caring email agency for the financial industry, David Cartolano. Dave, what's good? David, what's good?
Hey, everything's good, man. That is very high praise. All right. I ain't the best. I'm good, but you better believe I'm not the best. But thank
Hey,
you. I appreciate that.
of course.
Mhm.
Of course. So look, high praise for high individuals. So, I'm gonna keep it how it is. But just wanted to say thank you first off to being on the pod, and we're gonna dive into a lot. But could you give us a little bit of a backstory of how you got to the point where you're at right now?
Yeah. So to make a long story long, I failed out of physical therapy school. That was like the beginning of it all. I was listening to business podcasts and things like that while I was in physical therapy school. So it should have been an indicator that, hey, maybe this wasn't for me. So I failed out. 3 days later, I joined a business mastermind with someone else's credit card, which that was legal. That was a legal thing. And eventually I reapplied, got back into the school, went to a business mastermind retreat, said, no, I ain't doing this anymore, rescinded my application to said school, moved down from New York City to Florida, tried to build 2 businesses on my twin brother's couch during 2020 because I figured nothing would ever happen in 2020, right? We no clue, nothing, no, everything should be fine. I'll just move down to Florida and nothing would happen. Obviously, everything did happen. For 8 months, tried to build 2 businesses, failed at both. Got an offer from a very popular ClickFunnels influencer to work for him in Idaho, and I went, fuck it, I'm not doing anything else. So I flew out and started doing video editing, Facebook ads, and email marketing. And one of the things that really stuck, that was making him the most money, was me doing his email marketing. So that's really where I cut my teeth on just saying, hey, how do we make a 4-figure email? How do we make a 5-figure email? And what happened was, after a while, after 15 months, I said, okay, this isn't for me. Me and my boss parted on good terms, and I've been running an email agency ever since.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Keith. Go ahead, Keith.
What were some of your thoughts when you were thinking about rescinding your application to PT school?
I was done. I was just done. I was working at a clinic. I remember taking a picture of myself, actually, because I'm like, this is going to be a part of my story someday. And it was 8:10 at night. I was the only person in the clinic cleaning up tables and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done. This isn't making me happy anymore. It was just this gnawing sensation that this isn't right. I'm forcing it, and I'm not thinking. I'm just not thinking clearly. I'm just going off of everything I learned. Right. It's kind of like what's the saying? Like, you, it's so funny how we delude ourselves into thinking something's right for us when really it's all we ever know. And I was doing that for years. So that's when I cut the cord. I'm like, oh, this ain't right. So that was really it.
So there's no thoughts of going back to PT at all?
Hell no, no, no. For the first couple of years of my entrepreneurship journey, my mom was always saying, hey, well, you could go back to PT school. I'm like, yeah, I could also eat a burrito in the middle of the highway. Just because I can doesn't mean I should. So no way. I know this is making me happier and I feel more fulfilled than being a PT. And that's my journey.
Yeah, no, I think everyone has to find their own journey to what makes them feel fulfilled, what makes them happy. I
Right.
just wanted to throw the question out there. But do you ever think about like, I know you said you weren't as happy when you were like thinking about um debating whether PT was for you, but were there a lot of struggles to come to that decision and be like, this I need to pivot and find something else? Or was it kind of just once you realized that it was like that?
Yeah. It was both. It was really both. I think there's, if you know Greg Todd, I think we all know Greg Todd. We're in his world. He gave the analogy that, someone was walking down the street and there was a dog crying, and dog was crying because it had a nail in its foot. And the other person said, why doesn't the dog pull the nail out? It definitely can. And the person walking said, well, it doesn't hurt enough yet. So I think the pain was like, it just didn't hurt. It was all I ever knew. It was convenient enough that I could make like $7 an hour, like cleaning up tables and stuff. That's an exaggeration, but it was enough that I could make minimum wage cleaning tables. It's all I ever knew. I told myself that's what I wanted. But at the mastermind where I said I'm done with physical therapy school, I don't know what came over me, but I was sitting there with the notebook in my hands and I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. Like boom, like lightning bolt from the universe, God, whatever. And I wrote down at 10:46 a.m. like that was the decision. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going back. So it was kind of both. Other than that, like man, it's weird. It's divine. It's you just know when you're done. You just know.
And then after that, some of the opportunities started to come out of like that you probably weren't expecting, right?
No freaking way. If you told me I moved out to Idaho, where the pizza is pretty much ketchup on a cracker and like it's the middle of a cornfield, no way, not in a million years. But I had to make that jump of, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm jumping into the unknown. And it was really scary for like a solid 2 years. It was really rough, man. But it was worth it. It paid off. You have to be willing to step into the unknown if you want to get what you want to get. Period.
So you talked about doing Facebook ads, video editing, email marketing for Steve Larson, and you made a lot. Most of the money he was making was from the email marketing that you were doing. Other than that, why did you choose to focus on email marketing as a business instead of like Facebook ads and video editing?
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever Mr. Larson and his team would go through the like KPIs and the metrics of how much money was made this week, and we took a look at where the money came from, email beat ads every single time. And even when we were retargeting people on our email list, those ads converted more than to cold traffic. I'm like, so there's something here. Email is just a very essential part of business, and it's been an essential part since 1990, right? So will it be around forever? Heck no. There's always something to replace the main stuff, but it's still around today, and it pulls in billions. So I'm going to pick a very profitable vein that's also very customer centric. If you can get email right, even if you have a small list, whoo, I've seen people do a lot of money off of like 300 people off their list. It's that simple. It's relationship based. So I like that a bit better than Facebook ads.
Can you define, before we dive deeper into email marketing, can you define what email marketing is and how it helps a business owner?
Yeah. So I like to say I'm an email systems agency and I happen to do email marketing. So what I systemize is building relationships. Email marketing is just building a relationship and sometimes adding a buy button. That's it. It's just manifesting trust. That's it.
And how do you work to build that trust with a person who you might not have met in real life?
Heck yeah. It's the same way you would build trust on a first date, where you just set the expectations like, hey, what are you looking for? Hey, this is what I'm bringing to the table. Like for my welcome sequence or for welcome sequences I write for my clients, we say the first email is, hey, so glad you downloaded this opted in here or there. Here's what you can expect of what you're going to get from us. Hey, how much do you want to be emailed? Do you want to be emailed all the time? Do you want to be emailed once a week? Or do you want to unsubscribe? That's all good. If you don't want to get an email, just unsubscribe right here. We tell them what they're going to get. We tell them how much do they want from it. And then we just say, hey, here's like and great, we can't wait to see you. You know, we set the expectations, and that's how you build trust, by keeping your word. By selling, if you're selling something, you tell people you're going to sell shit. Don't do any of that like fake, like, oh my gosh, like you have 5 minutes left to buy this thing, and you refresh the page and they're like, oh, we have 5 minutes left to buy this thing. Come on, that's bullshit. Like, you have to keep your word. You have to make sure that the customer feels like, oh, even if they don't buy, they can learn to trust your emails, to the point of where they don't open by subject line, they open because they see the name. So that's pretty much it.
And is that a skill that, like, I feel like when you're talking to someone, it's, it's a different component of building that relationship versus when you're having to write words and you can't see their reaction. Is that a skill that you've had to kind of work to develop, or has that been something that comes natural?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have good bedside manner, that doesn't mean you could write a good email. In fact, that probably means you write a bad one. You have to learn. Email writing is a skill. It's a skill. There's plenty of copywriting mentors and courses and YouTube videos out there, which I had to do for a while. I got really lucky in the beginning with a couple of emails that did 5 figures, but it was also a really good offer. And there was a lot of scarcity. And I had a decent idea of what to say, but it was something I had to hone. It's just something you have to do and take a look at the numbers and say, okay, did this work? Did this not work? And why? And it's just like you put in the reps again and again and again and again. So that's like how I think I've gotten half decent. All right. I'm definitely not the best, but I believe I've gotten some results. So I guess that must mean I'm good to some level.
Is there a certain platform that people should focus on in order to develop an email list and then monetize it? Because you have to have an audience to start.
Yes and no. So when you say platform, what do you mean? Do you mean a certain company like ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, something like that?
Oh,
Or are
no.
you talking about something different?
Like a certain like social media platform that you can like promote your email list on and then like get emails.
So I've seen it done. That's the best part about business. There's no instruction manual. You can do it both ways. So I've seen people grow an email list like from ads. That's it. They don't have a platform. They just have a really good offer. Then they nurture people through email. Some people, like you said, they do have social media and then they do organic, but like some people do cold emails where they push emails out to other people to see if they're interested in their stuff. And then they build an email list off of that. So there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, for the lack of a better analogy, because that's really graphic. So yeah.
Is there a method that you want your clients to do, or you teach your clients to do, or you kind of work with what their goals are?
Yeah, I work with their goals. I think people have different methods of client acquisition. And if it's more cold, so if it's more coming from ads and stuff like that, then we have to nurture them a little bit differently. If it's organic, it's coming from social media, then it's a different nurturing process, because it's different levels of, like we said before, it's different levels of trust. So I'm not going to recommend one or the other. It's just learning how to play both games.
And how do you go about finding, like, what are you looking for from potential clients or people to work with?
Yeah, usually, I mean, at least right now in this phase of the business, it's all organic. And the way I do it is I go on Facebook groups, and usually people say like, hey, I'm having an email problem. My emails are going to spam. And I go, great. Hey, let me make you a 5-minute Loom video on what I see. Is it cool if I send it to your email address? And people, I haven't had one person say no. All right. So I film a quick screen recording and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I see. Now I can't see everything because I'm not in your email account, but I'd love to get on a call and talk with you more about what it would look like. And that's it. That's really how I start. And I'm going to do more LinkedIn outreach through a lead generation agency. We're going to test that out, see if that works. And that's what I'm doing for now. Will I run ads at some point? Maybe. But we're just going through it quarter by quarter, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't.
And go ahead, Kay. I was gonna say, so it sounds like you find a problem, you offer a solution to that problem, and then you invite them to like figure out how you can help solve more problems, essentially.
Yeah, I found, and this is again through trial and error and fucking it up and not getting it right. It's a lot easier to sell a band-aid if someone's saying, help, I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding. Because I've tried to do cold outreach, and maybe I haven't done enough of it. Maybe I didn't do it right. But I've tried to do cold outreach where I saw people who were bleeding and I'm like, hey, do you want a Band-Aid? But they didn't know they're bleeding, or they didn't care that they were bleeding. So that didn't do so well. And then sometimes I just reached out to people who probably weren't bleeding at all, which is why they didn't get back to me, you know? So I found it's easier to sell Band-Aids to people who are bleeding. Now, is it scalable? No. But is it enough to get me off the ground and like get people who are willing to pay me? I mean, it just happened last week. So it's like, okay, I'm doing something right here. So that's how I begin.
And doing that, did you ever feel salesy? I know some people like are apprehensive about doing so because like, oh, I don't want to feel salesy. So did you ever feel like that? And if so, how do you overcome that?
I think if you're being salesy, it's because you don't believe in your solution. All right. I'd be salesy if I was selling something to somebody that I didn't believe. Like if I didn't know I could get somebody out of spam, I wouldn't sell it to them. I just had full confidence of, hey, I can get your emails out of spam and I can build a better nurture sequence than what you have, which a lot of people, they don't have a really good nurture sequence, just being honest. It's because they're not trained to do what I'm trained to do. Just like how I'm not trained to do SEO, just like how I'm not trained to do what they do in their businesses, right? This is my zone of genius and I know I can do better. So when it comes down to salesy, like, no, no. In fact, I'm starting to look forward to sales more and more because to me, it's just more of a conversation. It's like, hey, I can help you. Hey, what sort of goals do you have? What are you looking for? And if it's not that important, like I'm not going to cram it down your throat, you know? Like if you know you're bleeding, but you know it's not that bad and it's not important to you, I can't sell you the biggest Band-Aid in the world, can I? So that's really it. I think salesy, it's just a mindset that you have to get over. I suggest getting better at what you do so that way you know that you can help somebody. So it's not even a sale.
Did you always have that mindset?
No, hell no. Oh my God. I was scared of selling videos back in my parents' basement when I was doing like this whole business thing. I was scared of selling videos for $50. You know, I'm like, oh man, like there's just no way I could ever do this. And to look back and see where I've come, it does come from time, experience, and confidence in what you do. That's it.
And what have you learned from the other two businesses that you tried to start up in during 2020? What have you learned that has helped you now as a business owner?
Uh, if you're not making money, that means you're doing something wrong, right? Like you are a business, okay? You do have to make money. Of course you can help people, absolutely. But at the end of the day, you got to eat. So if you're working hard all day, 7 days a week, and you're not making money, you're doing something wrong. So that's number one. Number two, you actually have to, and we just touched on this, you actually have to talk to people and get money from them. You have to sell. You have to learn to sell. And because I was avoiding selling or making like a $47 info product that no one wanted, it's like, damn, like you have to sell stuff. And number three, you have to charge a lot. You have to charge a lot of money. And you're like, oh, David, like why? Oh, like that's really skittish. That's really salesy. No. You do have to charge a lot of money. And the reason why is you're going to get a better client. You can probably get better results for that client because now you have the resources to spend on their experience. And then that means you get to eat. Like if you have a really good client, you can eat for 2 months. You can pay your rent for 2 months. All right. Instead of selling like some fucking like a $97 course that no one's gonna buy, like your margins are just, it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. Whereas when I charge I charge something that's either 4 or 5 figures, I can create a client experience. Like I can make them a gift basket. I sent a client to his favorite football game with his wife, you know? And when you charge a lot of money, you can do that. And they're like, thank you so much. And it's like, no, thank you so much. You gave me the money to buy you a football ticket. So that's what I believe. Those are the 3 lessons I think I would have learned. If I learned them a bit sooner, I wouldn't have had to eat so much rotisserie chicken and rice, you know?
Crackers and ketchup.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember those days.
What did creating your price points, did you always have the higher price points, or is it something that you had to like learn to just put them up there because you know the value that you bring to the table?
Yeah, it took some time. And I got to give a shout out to Alex Engar and Will Boyd and their CEO Finance Academy, because without them, I wouldn't have raised the prices to what I have now. And I've actually raised it since then. But that and the book $100 million Offers, when Alex Hormozy pointed out, like, hey, water bottles are marked up like 10,000%. It charge you $5 for like a bottle of water, and it costs, maybe a fraction of a cent to make. So if they can do that, I can do that with my stuff, because that's just how business works. That's how they scale. That's how I can scale. So I think it's just really important. You just want to have really high margins. Is it high margins or low margins? I don't remember. To say it differently, you want the price to be way more than what it costs to fulfill, because that way you can scale and you can create incredible client experiences, and you can take days off. Like Saturday, I'm not working today. This is I'm just talking to y'all, and then I get to fuck off and do what I want. But I can only do that because I'm charging what I'm charging.
So I know you talked about like your past experiences with sales. I was listening to a podcast of yours with Nate, and you talked about your previous podcast,
Yeah.
Condition
The
Musician
condition
podcast.
musician. That's right.
Yeah, I know you made it to 70 episodes. Why did you stop that? And then what did that experience teach you from
Yeah.
making it to 70 episodes? So that's a lot.
Yeah. I was very consistent with it. And the reason I stopped was the same reason I stopped thinking about being a physical therapist. After a while, it wasn't right. I was no longer happy. I was no longer feeling fulfilled. And you just have to know when to pull the plug. And I clung on to it for too long. It's human nature, right? We stay in relationships that we probably shouldn't be in for a very long time before we break up. Like, we're in it for a while, and we know it's over. We know it's done. But we do the same, not only relationships, but in business and other passions in life, through other relationships, friends, family. It's just a human thing. And when you know how to pull the plug faster, it makes your life a lot easier. So the conditioned musician and pulling the plug on that, I said, all right, like this has to be done. I'm not going to make it to 100 episodes and then pull it. No. I'm not happy. I'm not happy anymore. So just pull it.
What did you learn from that experience though?
The conditioned musician, like the business itself, or ending the podcast.
Just getting to 70 episodes. I feel like you learn a lot about yourself doing the
Yeah.
podcast. Like, what did you learn from that?
I love talking to people. I love asking questions. I love hearing people's stories. And I think physical therapy, for what it's worth, it taught me to talk to people and really get into what they're feeling, what their families are like, why they're doing what they're doing. And just doing it over and over again was really cool, because I made a bunch of connections. I made a bunch of friends. And I don't know, it gave me different perspectives. It really gave me different perspectives. And going into sales, it helped me in sales, because now that I'm in sales, I'm asking questions. I'm having conversations as well. So I think it helped me get over myself a little bit. So I'm grateful for the experience.
When you say you're trying to get over yourself and get better at asking questions, what in your eyes constitute asking the right question? Like, how do you know when you've asked the right question?
When you get a really good fucking answer. If you get an okay answer, it's like, oh man, that's not so good. I think a mentor of mine said the quality of answers you get depends on the quality of questions. So if I'm on a sales call and I ask a question and someone gives me like a one sentence answer, I go, oh, fuck, like, okay, like you need to dive a little bit deeper. But if I ask a question and somebody gives me a freaking paragraph or a story, I go, okay, that was good.
No, I like that because I think being a PT now, and understanding like what the initial eval, understanding someone just answers, you ask a question, they say, yeah, it hurts here, but you're not really, they're like out of it, disengaged. And you can tell when
Like,
someone switches and they're like, oh, like this person is like genuinely interested in trying to get to know me and what happened to me and how they could potentially help me. And you just see the flip in demeanor and quality of answers. And I think it's cool, even though PT is not in your like career field anymore, is not your career field anymore, you can still use aspects of it to help with
oh
the
yeah,
business aspect of it.
absolutely, absolutely. Like, even though PT was like a 5.5 year journey, and a lot of it was very heartbreaking at times, I learned so much. So I wouldn't trade it. I'd go through it again.
And now just another question. You have a lot of skill sets to your table, or to your tool belt, we'll say. Like with the Facebook ads, the video editing, email marketing, communicating, writing. Was it overwhelming? Did you ever feel overwhelmed trying to learn all these things? Or was it, I'm gonna focus on one thing at this one time, get good at it before adding the next skill set to the tool bag?
I think I've always been, I don't know, my brain's always been a little chemically imbalanced. So I'm like, yeah, I can do it, no problem, easy. But it was more one at a time with my career in general, when I was working for Mr. Larson. So I think nowadays I do things one at a time, and I learned to stay in my lane. I'm like, hey, I do emails. That's it. People have asked, like, hey, do you do social media content? Do you ads? I go, nope, I do emails, and that's it. No more. So that way, if I do decide to learn something, it's just a step down, or sorry, a step up. That's probably more accurate. It's just a step up, and I don't overwhelm myself, because as a business owner, you can only do so much in a day. And I learned this like 2 weeks ago. So like not speaking from, a place of mastery at all. But yeah, you can only do so much. So I've been working on not overwhelming myself and not putting so much on my plate that that it all falls off.
So then what does it look like to make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself? Like, well, how do you make sure you take care of yourself mentally?
Yeah. Mentally, I associate with the people I want to associate with. I do things that make me happy. Um, I like the stuff that we learn in kindergarten, right? You play nice, you go outside every so often, you run around. Like, I'm going for a run maybe in a couple hours. Uh, I meditate. I not as much as I'd like, but I meditate. I play guitar. I do other things that are different than business. And when it comes to business, I write down, like, hey, here's the 2, 3 things that I want to get done today. That's it. Everything else, move it to another day. Uh, otherwise, I will beat myself up, or I'll stay up super late to prove to myself that I can do the work, and that's not healthy. So that's really it. Call my family every so often. Uh, Go to Red Lobster like I did last night, and that's really it, man. It's no secrets.
Did you ever like struggle with having that balance?
Absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah, I've come from a pretty rough place. And I think going to that rough place, it's good because you kind of know when you're slipping back into it, because the signs are familiar. So when you say, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm down here," instead of being up here, it's like, okay, let's go back up here. We got to be careful. We got to regulate ourselves. Strongly suggest going to therapy, because that fucking works. That really works if you put in the work, because you can be more self-aware of saying, "Oh, this isn't good. I'm in a rough spot. I'm acting like I did a year ago. Okay, no. Let's take the steps and get out of it."
Yeah, the self-awareness factor is, I feel like that's like rule number one. Like you gotta understand how you operate and where you work well and what kind of things are going to bring you down and steer you away from your North Star,
Yeah.
like you mentioned earlier. Are
Mhm.
there any business myths that you'd like to dispel in email marketing? Something that you
Business.
hear a lot and you're anything, any myths in email marketing that you hear a lot of and you're like, this is so far from the truth.
Do you want an Old Testament of them? Oh my gosh. I hear
Yeah.
so I think one of the main, I'll give you two, even though I could give you 200. The first one is that one person on your email list is equal to $1. So if you just have 10,000 people on your email list, you'll just make $10,000 a month. That's a load of horse shit. I don't, and everyone, the people who teach it, their emails end up going to spam. It's so funny, so funny. That's not true, and the reason why is because people could have misspelled emails. They could have bots. They could have spam traps. They could have fake email addresses, and all this stuff that that's not a person you're sending to, right? That's a bot. Then there's also people who haven't touched your list in 90 days. They haven't opened an email in 90 days. They don't want to hear from you anymore. And saying like, oh, I'm just going to keep emailing them over and over. No, Google and all the other ISPs, they're going to say, oh, because this person isn't opening your emails, well, I just guess you're spam, your unsolicited email, even though they've opted in. So you want to have a very small list of engaged buyers. That's what you want. All right. If people aren't clicking, if people aren't opening, get them the hell off your list. You can use them for ad data, but man, don't go emailing people who don't want your emails, because that's just going to ruin your reputation. You're going to go to spam and promo. You're going to talk to me, and I'm going to ask what happened, and you're just going to give me the same answer because some trying to hold back here. Now I'm going to say it, some jack off with the funnel software told you to do something different, and it's not true. So that's number one. Number two, I'd say people think they have to do their own email marketing. You don't. Like it's just not a good idea. If you're a tax professional, it's not your job to do email marketing. It's not. It's not. And usually when I get emails from tax professionals, there's an intro, there's a body paragraph, a thesis, two more body paragraphs, and a conclusion, and then book a call. I'm like, yo, that's way too long, man. So when people who are in a professional field, including physical therapists, write their own emails, it's like, do you do your own SEO? Do you do your own dental surgery? Don't bother. Hire someone else to do it. It's just another vein in your business. Focus on what you know how to do, make a butt ton of money from that, and then hire people to do the email stuff because they can do it way better than you because they've just been doing it for a long time. So I think that's my that's my two.
When it comes to email marketing and like monetizing your email list, outside of making money from your audience, what other metrics do you look at? Like if you sign on a client and you start working with them and they don't make money in the first month or so, what other metrics do you look at to show that they're making progress?
Yeah, we look at booked calls, booked scheduled calls, things like that, sales calls, appointment setting calls, things like that, because that's on the road to making money. It's like, okay, how many calls do we book? For the clients that I work with, revenue is important, but I don't have a lot of control over it because the selling's on their side. So we look at appointments booked. The next thing that we take a look at is click-through rates. How many people are actually clicking on the emails? Because that's really important. Open rates, not so much because of different privacy updates, and some of the numbers can be a little skewed, but open rates are important as well. But I'd much rather track things with calls booked and click-through rates. That's important because that means people are actually engaging.
That's funny that you said open rates not so much, because at least on Twitter and stuff, I see that people are like, oh, you should have an open rate greater than 30% and all this other
Jeez.
bullshit, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I oh man. So having a high open rate's important, right? For some of my clients, I've gotten 50% open rates and above. On my list, sometimes I get 60, 70, 80, but open rates aren't everything. Is it a vanity metric? No, I think it's important, but you can have incredible open rates and not book a single appointment. And 30, I think that's where we start. All right. That's where we start. Like, you should be really doing like 40, 50. And if not, you have to go back into your list and see, okay, what's going on? What expectations are we setting with our audience that they're not getting? Or what have we done? Have we not set the right expectations for our audience, period? Have we not set up the automations to filter out people who aren't interested in our stuff anymore? So yeah, I could go on. A lot of BizOp is very backward, not just when it comes to email, but just in general.
I see. Is there a certain frequency of like emails you should send?
That's a really good question. I like to say for small business owners who are doing their own emails, it's like how much revenue are you generating every time you send out an email? And if you're making a lot of money from emails, you should probably send more often, right? So, because it's working, it's doing its thing. So if you're finding a lot of revenue by emailing people once a month, you should probably be doing it at least twice a week because you're making money from it. Now, if you're sending emails 3 to 5 times a week and you're not seeing any money from it, I suggest you stop and you either hand it off to somebody else or make enough money that you can hand it off to somebody else, you know? It's really per business. Some people will say, you should email people every day. It's like, it depends. It depends on the sales cycle. It really depends on how good people are at writing emails. If you suck at writing emails, you probably shouldn't be writing them at all, let alone 3 times a week. So I know it's a very roundabout answer and it's very nuanced, but that's the way in my reality, that's how I believe it is.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. It's all about like focusing on your strengths, and then if you're not good at it, finding somebody else to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't do that yet, use your strengths to make more money and then hire the person, hire the source.
That's it. People do it with Google ads, YouTube ads, Facebook ads, but somehow for email, we think, oh, because we passed high school English, that means we know how to write. It's like, I don't know, but just, yeah, fuck around and find out. Let's see if you can get money from your emails first. And then if it doesn't happen, then you can come to me, we'll have a conversation, or go to somebody else. It doesn't have to be me. So that's my thoughts and opinions around that.
What are your thoughts on like ways to get people to click? Like, I've been seeing, like, I subscribe to a lot of emails just because I want to see like other people's copy and stuff like that. And I noticed that a lot of people are using like urgency, like 5 more days at this price. But what gets me is that sometimes it's 5 more days to that price, and then the next month it's the same thing, or like they're like 10 spots left. So like, what are your thoughts on that?
If you fake scarcity, you will burn out your list and destroy your reputation because everyone knows you as a liar. So it's cool if it's like, hey, we have 5 spots left this month. And then next month you say, we have 5 spots left this month. That's cool because you're not lying to anybody. And you, unless you are saying, oh, it's 5 spots left, but then 10 people book and you're fine with that. That's, again, it always comes back. It always comes back to haunt you. People will know, people will talk. And all of a sudden your CPMs are going to rise on Facebook. And you're like, ads aren't working as well. Yeah, because people are talking smack about you because you don't keep your promises and you're a liar. So scarcity is okay. I'm fine with scarcity, just make it real. So if you're going to use that to get people to click on something, fantastic. I think what I've seen work is, don't just say, click here to watch a YouTube video, click here to book a call, click here to purchase the product. You should talk about the benefit, like learn how to blank. Or if you're buying something like, I don't know, if you're buying a coaching course around knitting baby kitten freaking blankets, instead of saying, buy this course on knitting kitten blankets, you would say, learn how to make your kitten fall asleep in 13 minutes or less. All right. And then it would bring them to the course page of having really comfortable knitting, really comfortable kitten blankets that they could fall asleep in. You know what I mean? You're selling the benefit, not the thing.
So, this kind of jumps into what I was going to ask next. You talked about adding the benefit in the copy of the email. What are some maybe two things that you would be looking for to include in every email that you would consider a good thing to have in the email?
Words. And the reason I'm coming back with a smart ass comment like that is because I've had emails where I've written long emails with, a problem, a promise, proof, an irresistible offer, and reason to act now. And that's a copy trick by Terry Dean. And I love Terry Dean. And sometimes I'll put in the problem and I'll put in the reason to act now. And I'll have some elements of that. But I gotta say, sometimes you can write emails with a couple of words and they convert because it's about context. If you're doing if you're ending a promotion at 12 a.m. at night and you send an email at 11:30, I've sent an email saying, hey, this thing's ending in 30 minutes. You can either do this and get the result you want, and I laid out the result, or you can let this pass by. Choice is yours. Sincerely, blank. And that email converted. So I can say you want to have some type of problem, some type of promise, some type of proof, some type of irresistible offer, and some type of scarcity. And you usually want 3 of those. But man, it is an art. It is not a science. The best way to know if an email is going to work is to fucking send it out and then look at the numbers after.
Conversely, then, 2 bad things that you see in emails that should never be in an email.
Oh my gosh. I think the things that put you in spam, if you have like a bunch of weird characters and you put in 50,000 pictures, that's a lot. But if you're putting in a lot of pictures, like 6, 7 pictures, and you have like a nice border and you have all of this like shiny, fancy shit, this is stuff that spam filters don't like. Because if you take a look at your spam folder and you take a look at what's in it and all the fun stuff that's in it, if you make your emails look like that, don't do it. Don't do it, because Google will be like, oh, that's totally spam. And then you get to share a folder with international criminals and all this icky stuff that you don't want to be associated with. So that's number one. Another thing you don't want to put in your email, I think we've already touched on it. It's the fake scarcity. Don't do that. Don't lie to people. Don't blatantly lie to people. And the reason I get so fired up about it is because I was in that space. I saw people openly lie to like a blatant, bold-faced lie to an audience, and they just never fulfilled on it. And it's so cringy, and people will pick up on it. So don't make your email, don't make your email look like it came from some shady website, and don't lie to people. That's it.
Does every email have to have a call to action?
No, that's such a good question. No, I think that most emails should, but you'll burn out your list if you're constantly asking for shit. You'll be the one relative that's always asking for money. It's like, and then they walk to you at a family reunion. You're like, I already know what you're going to say. No, I don't have $20. Like, go and have some mashed potatoes and leave me alone. So if you are constantly asking, people aren't going to like it. If you just say like, hey, this is what I did this weekend. Here's a picture of my dog. People will like it. People will actually respect it, that you're not asking for shit all the time. So absolutely not. Not every single email needs to have a call to action.
So at what stage of your business would you say that people should consider email marketing?
Ooh. I'm going to go against what the market says and say like, oh, you should start building your list right away. No, you should start selling shit right away. So I think when you have consistent sales and you really got something that people want, then think about building your list. And I would build your list first over Facebook ads and YouTube ads and stuff like that. And again, this is just my opinion. I could be completely wrong about this. I would build your list and nurture them first once you have a thing going. And because that's just something you have, that is your asset, and you can email them whenever you want. I mean, that's how you can, Black Friday is coming up. That's how you can you can compete with the billion-dollar companies. You'll be right next to them in the inbox. Or you can run ads and be completely crushed by everyone else. So I again, it's my expertise, it's my zone of genius. So I do believe you should have an email list, just not right away. Focus on building the business, focus on selling shit and building systems and processes first.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. I have one last question around this. So does your content for your emails that like don't have a call to action under it, does it have to be different from your like social media posts? So I feel like as a small business owner, and if you're limited on time, it is kind of smart to repurpose things, but to like what extent?
Yeah, I know some email people that just take whatever they're writing in their email and put it on social media. And if that's how you want to do things, that's cool. For me, I like to edit things just a little bit. And sometimes I have an inspiration from my list compared to what I would say on social media. Because my list, I want to give them a bit more. Because they're in my world, I'm going to give them a bit more stuff. Social media, they're going to get another side. But you certainly don't have to do that. You know, you do what you want. So if you are pressed and strapped for time and you do have a list and you are making a decent amount of money from it, then yeah, go for it. Like put the social media in. And if you want a call to action, great. If not, no problem. But just make sure you edit it to make it flow like an email instead of like a social media post.
I'm gonna say, my question is, now that you've started the transition to it, you're in a new state on a different side, different coast of the country. Um, as you get settled into that new way of life, what's next for you? Like, what do you want to accomplish, let's say, in the next couple months before the end of the year?
Before the end of the year, really my business was, and I again, very new business. So I was getting a bunch of one-off gigs here and there. And what I want right now is like I want to have clients that are going to be here for the next 5 years, you know, or 10 years, you know, because that's a really easy way to make a crap ton of money is to find customers who won't stop paying you. So that's, you don't run out. So that way you can build and scale and I can't wait to hire people and pay them what they're worth and make them happy. Like that's cool to me. That's really cool. So I would love to, in this quarter, Q4, I would love to get at least two more people into a reoccurring plan. And then from there, I can scale. I can really scale. So that'd be really sick. And next year, I'm moving back to New York City because I miss the pizza and the Italian food because you can't find that out here. And as a New York Italian, it's really difficult when you can't have the sauce that you want to have. So that's going to be in 2023.
What you mean, bro? You can't find that out in Idaho?
No, no. People out here think Domino's is pizza. That it's not. It's not. It's cardboard.
So then, if we're looking, let's say, 60 years down the line, and you're looking back on all that you've accomplished, what kind of legacy do you want to leave?
Man, really, at the end of the day, we're all going to die and we're all going to be forgotten. So nothing really matters. So we get to choose what matters. So I think I just want to have a heck of a lot of fun. I want to sponsor a lot of kids. I'm already sponsoring some kids now. So I just want to do more of that at a greater scale. Definitely want some solar energy. We are going to set up some solar panels. Oh yeah. So that's going to be really fun. And in 60 years, man, I don't know who I'm going to be. I'm excited to meet him, but I have no idea who I'm going to be. So just wanted, I think keeping the person that I am, still having the good personality, not getting jaded, being able to joke about having Red Lobster on a podcast that other people are going to listen to, I don't want that to go. So that's really it. I think that's really it. I don't know. There might be more in the future that I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So I'm just going to keep pulling on that invisible string in my gut until there ain't nothing left.
I like
I like
it.
that.
You gotta trust. Yeah,
Mhm.
for real.
Yeah.
For real.
Random
All right,
question.
my last question. Uh, Go ahead.
Sorry, it's really random. Out there in Idaho, is Red Lobster like the best restaurant you have?
No, there's way better.
Oh,
There's way better. No, Idaho does have good food. I'm not putting it down at all. It's just the Italian food just isn't, it's just not where it is. It's just not where it is.
okay. Just had to ask.
Yeah.
Hey, you can clown their food though if you want to. We understand. We understand. We understand.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
my last question though, you've given us a lot of information, say a lot of valuable information. If you could boil it down to 1 to 2 things that you want people listening to us to take away from, what would you say?
Give one thing that's personal and one thing that's email. Personal, take a fucking risk because sometimes it will pay off. And email wise, if you're struggling with it, don't do it yourself.
Boom. All right, I like it. Short and sweet to the point. So I
That's
might
what
have
you
to go
get.
back and listen to this. You might have to listen to this a couple times to get all the gems that were dropped. David, where can people find you if they have more questions or
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find me on social media at David Cartolano, and I'll spell that out Cartolano. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm getting back into TikTok and the YouTube and short form Reels game. So you could find me on TikTok at Wealthy Inbox. And if you want, you could go to my website, which is still under construction, but maybe it'll be up by the time this podcast publishes at wealthyinbox.com.
boom. All right, so there's no excuse. If you need help with email marketing, David is on all the platforms. So find him if you have questions. Key, anything else you want to say?
Nah, just thanks for coming on the episode. This was great.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, no,
Definitely.
thank you so much, and we'll catch y'all on the next episode of the Key and Mang Audio Experience.